We Rise is a great
This meeting is being recorded.
every day we rise is a great day to be alive, and welcome to the Seven Cities Forums of Hampton Roads presents Portsmouth Coffee Talk with our guests Leah Drake Stitt and Thomas the Colonel Chapman. Good morning, host.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Yes, good
How
morning.
are you? How are you today?
Great.
Yes, every day is a good day.
Every day is a good day. And here we are, and we have a special guest with us this morning, Miss Kisha Hawkins. And she's no stranger to the Seven Cities Forums. She was on in 2018 with her son, Malik. And we welcome. Good morning, Kisha. How you doing?
Good morning. I'm doing great. It's early, but I am doing great. Good morning,
Yes,
everyone.
it's early. All our guests say that, but they always show up. Thank God. We appreciate that. But anyway, we have Kisha Hawkins this morning, and she's a IC Northern graduate and
Yes.
Norfolk
Yes.
State University, and
Yes,
received
twice.
a master's in public administration and management at Troy State University. And she was a manager, entertainment manager, momager, really, as she managed her son. I assume she still manages her son in his endeavors, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But this is about Kisha today. She's also a former contracting officer for the U.S. federal government, and she's retired from that. And chief executive officer, founder, and she's self-employed and found a roadmap to a full ride, and we'll talk about that. And Kisha, I wanted to start off. You grew up in the city of Portsmouth, and everybody has a story. Everybody has a start, how they got to where they are today. And a lot of times when we have featured guests, we like to start there, because I believe it's encouraging to our young folks that are trying to figure out what they want to do or how they want to go in life. So it's good to hear other people who have gone through that process and gotten to where they are today, how they started and what was their motivations. Grew up in Cavalier Manor, I believe, in the city of
Absolutely, yes. Mhm.
And like I mentioned, went to IC Northam. So talk a little bit about what went on when you were growing up in the city of Portsmouth and IC Northam, and your motivation to continue on like you did.
Okay, so yes, I grew up in Cavalier Manor. My granny, may she continue to rest in peace. She raised me, and so that's where she lived at the time when she got custody of me. So grew up in Portsmouth. I think I ended up in Portsmouth around 9 years old until I left when I turned 18 and moved out and got my own place. But pretty much went to IC Northam High School, had a pretty decent experience there. However, I was a teenage mom when I was at IC Northam. So that presented its own set of challenges, of course. Not everybody was cheering for me to be successful at that particular time, because it was kind of like, you pregnant, you're what, and so everybody was not accepting. Not that it's a great thing, but at the same time, don't necessarily know it. You should make it that hard for people to be able to do what they need to do. So that was some of my experience at Northam. All of my experience at Northam was not bad. I had a lot of good friends, had a lot of teachers who believed in me. Dr. Knight, particularly, I still keep in contact with him right now. And so from that point on, I just had to make up my mind that I was going to be successful, whether people supported me or not. So I graduated from Northam, ended up going to Norfolk State University, behold the green and gold.
Behold.
Behold the green and gold. Yeah, right here.
We have three up here this morning. Three this morning.
So I went on to Norfolk State University, majored in business management, had a full scholarship there, and graduated in 98. Yeah, graduated in 98 with my business degree. Started out working as an assistant manager at Walmart in their management trainee program to become a manager. Realized very quickly that was not for me. Working 60 plus hours a week with a young child I was trying to take care of. Just all those many hours just wasn't working for me. So I went back to Norfolk State University to their career center when they were doing interviews, and interviewed for a contracting officer position. Had no idea what it was. And the guy asked me during the interview, he said, do you even know what you're interviewing for? I was honest. I'm always on. I'm pretty honest person. I said, no. I said, but it said, 3.5 GPA, good benefits, great pay. And that's what I'm looking for. So he said, well, I appreciate your honesty. You got the job. So I started working in contracting, where I just left October of 2021. I took early retirement after almost 23 years. But before I left, I was already running my own company called Faith Plus Works Consulting, which under that umbrella is Roadmap to a Full Ride. Because under Faith Plus Works Consulting, I have a budgeting arm that I teach families how to do budgets and get their finances in order. But my baby, my big baby, is actually my Roadmap to a Full Ride. So that's currently where I am. I am doing that full time. It's been great. Would definitely love to be a little bit busier, but when you're starting your own business, it takes a little while to build it up. But I can honestly say there's a buzz, the word is getting out, and clients are coming in left and right. My testimonials have been phenomenal. So that's pretty much how I got to where I am.
Kisha, talk a little more about Roadmap to a Full Ride.
So Roadmap to a Full Ride was established in, I believe it was 2019. So basically, when I was in the process, I started this journey with Malik right around 6th or 7th grade. But when I got to Grassville High School, which is where he went to high school after being in private school all those years, I had a lot of parents that were coming to me for advice. They didn't understand the whole college process. They didn't know where to start. They didn't know anything about campus tours and application processes and how everything needed to be done. And so I found myself constantly giving out information and giving out information for free. Because, a lot of times we're not going to charge our friends and family for what we know. But after a while, people started saying, Kisha, what you have to offer is very beneficial because people have no clue, first generation college students and things of that nature. So I said, okay, let me go ahead and think about turning it into something official. So in 2019, when Malik was offered 1.2 million in scholarships and made national news, my phone was ringing. My DMs were jumping. Everything was like moving along, and it just made sense for me to finally go ahead and open my company. So what Roadmap to a Full Ride does is it teaches families how to maneuver the entire college process, starting as early as 6th grade. What they need to do, what kind of classes they should be taking to make sure they're competitive, the type of essays and things they may see throughout the process, just the entire gamut, legitimate scholarship websites, scholarships databases that I build for my clients for them to just click and apply, all the way down to coaching for interviews, as well as essay prep. So yeah, I do everything. I say I'm the one-stop shop for all your college needs.
And what's the cost for families if they want to engage your services?
So I don't usually put prices out because right now I'm just going to say I'm extremely affordable. Okay. And when people hear what I charge, they say, oh, wow, we've checked into other programs, not quite as extensive as this, that cost a lot more, because eventually I will have to go up. So I don't want to say a price on air. Right. And then they come to me 3 months later and they say, well, that's not what you said during your interview. Exactly. So let's just say it is very affordable and worth every dime. Let's say that.
James, you were about to say something. I apologize.
Oh, I just wanted to say, I wanted to mention that first met the Hawkins family during a time when I was in the hospital. And when I was in the hospital, I was kind of chronicalizing my daily, what I was going through. And I think they probably saw it on Facebook and they said, it must have been encouraging to them or inspiring or something. Because one day I looked up and the three of them had walked into my room, never having to meet, personally before. But that's when I first met him. And I remember Malik was a little guy. And remember him saying, I just want to grow so I can play basketball. And that did happen. But I just wanted to mention that personal story. That's how we originally met. And I wanted to mention that because that meant so much to me, being in there, having people walk in that you never met, that wanted to really make that connection. And that was important. I appreciate that. Yeah.
You're absolutely welcome. And just to speak on that a little bit, that was prior to COVID, where it was okay for us to walk into a hospital and visit
Uh-huh.
people. But I had been following his journey on Facebook, and I knew he was from Portsmouth, and I knew he was waiting on a heart. And we oftentimes we know that people who are waiting don't always get what they're waiting for. And so I just felt like it was important to make the connection and be encouraging and just let him know that we believed in him and we were praying for him. And so one day I had shared the story with Malik and Eric, and we said, well, after church, we're going to swing by there. And so that's what we did. We ended up staying for a good little while, and the rest is history because here we are in 2022. So God is good
All the time.
all the
Yes.
time.
Yeah, but before we go any further, I think I'm going to interject here and give our disclaimer for the folks out there in Electron Land. So the views expressed on this show are those of the host and and our guests, and not of the radio station. So need to put that disclaimer out there because we don't want to go on to Facebook jail anytime soon. And then so for those also for those.
We're constantly at the door of Facebook jail. We just haven't gone through yet. Okay.
Yeah, yes. And the other piece is for those folks that are out there, and if you like what you're hearing, and I know you do, I know you love what the shows and the content that we're bringing you. We also need your help to continue this and expand this across this country and actually across the world. So if you'd like to send a donation or honorarium, you can send something to Portsmouth Coffee Talk at P.O. Box 7664, Portsmouth, Virginia 23707. And then so that's my housekeeping for the day. And but as I transition out of the housekeeping mode, so Kisha, I love your story and your journey, and I know you're continuing on with this journey. So I've always been one person for higher education. And then so in your present business, if I've got a young child coming up through the ages, when is the time should I start this process when I look at higher education? And normally we, as parents, they look at, I'm gonna send the kid to school and they're in the last 3 months of their senior year. And actually it's too late. And having been in recruiting for the military, I understand that when parents would come to me, oh, I want an ROTC scholarship, but you're graduating in a couple months. The bus is already pulled away. So when's a good time?
So what I tell parents is you can start as early as 6th grade, believe it or not.
Yes.
And I mean, I always like to say whenever I'm interviewed on a show, or even when I'm talking to parents sometimes, because when you're sitting down in sessions, you may find that a child really does not want to go the traditional 4-year college route. Some of them want to get into the trade programs, which there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. There's more than one way to be successful. And we all know a 4-year degree is not for everyone, although that is what I do in my program. So I tell parents as early as 6th grade is a great time to start talking, just bringing those nuggets to the child. And you can kind of observe, if you're a good parent and you're paying attention, you can tell which child would more than likely go to college versus one who might go and do something a little different. Mm-hmm. So when you notice that, now that's the time that you should really start talking to someone like myself, who's an expert in the field that can guide you through that entire process. Because honestly, it really does start in middle school. That is a time when your kids can start taking honors classes, and those credits can move over to high school. So, I've heard the debate, what is the difference between an advanced studies diploma and a regular diploma? There is a difference. And now a lot of colleges are requiring you to have the advanced studies diploma in order to be eligible to get into their schools. So 6th grade, as early as 6th grade is the time to start. However, if you don't get started that early, 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, 11th grade heading into senior year, the summer before senior year is when they should be starting their college applications. And so I have a lot of clients who may even come to me during 9th grade or so, and then turn around and come back again just to get the whole total scholarship database built out where they click and apply. However, I will also say it's not too late, 12th grade. Now, if they're graduating in May or June and they're coming May or June, then that may be too late for a full ride. However, I can still assist because I know and I've built databases on where to find scholarships that are still out there that they need people to apply for. Sometimes people are begging for students to apply, because, back in the day, I think uh, the other generations took things a little bit more seriously sometimes, and we
Mhm.
did the extra mile. Whereas this generation is kind of like microwave. Oh, it's good. We'll wake up and we'll have a full ride on the door. No, that's not really how it works. I tell parents, Publishers Clearinghouse is not going to come and knock on your door and say, "Here's a full ride." It honestly takes work, and I don't do any guarantees. I don't guarantee anything. But what I do tell people, applied knowledge is power. So after
Mhm.
you come to me during a session, if you follow the roadmap we laid out during your 2-hour consultation, I do guarantee that you will get money and lessen what you may possibly have to pay out of pocket, whether you're going to pay with a check or whether you're going to pay with student loans. But I tell people you're going to pay either way or the other. You're either going to pay on the front end where you pay someone like me to help you, or you're going to pay on the back end where your kids are going to be in a lot of student loan debt before they can even get a job and graduate. So,
No.
Keisha, I really think that's a excellent service that you're offering, especially in
thank
light
you.
of the fact that in schools now, we don't seem to have the guidance counselors that we had back when you were at Norcom, when Ms. Audrey Patrick was there. And Audrey
Right.
Patrick she sat on each student to make sure that those students applied for scholarships. But
Correct.
the sad thing now that I'm seeing is I see honor students who just don't have the desire to go on to higher education. They're not applying for scholarships. What can we do to get some of these kids motivated? Because right now they're not motivated. I know as Norcom alumni, we put out scholarship applications, and we have to beg youth to fill out the applications.
Mhm, mhm.
So what
Well,
advice?
go ahead. I'm
No,
sorry.
what advice would you offer? Because it seems to be that we're at a place now where there's just not any interest by the young people.
Well, I think some of it is COVID. We honestly have to realize
This
what
was
COVID.
this was prior to
Oh,
COVID. This is not COVID. We can't blame everything on COVID.
okay.
This was prior to COVID. The applications would be there, and you pretty much have to beg the youth to even fill out the applications.
Well, I'm gonna speak to two things. I will talk
Okay.
to COVID first, and then I'll come
Okay.
back to that. So, what I was gonna say about COVID is, I've seen even in my own family kids who were straight A students, and now they just lost the desire to do anything.
That's true. That's true.
All of this online stuff, and they feel overwhelmed. It's too much. Some teachers not totally teaching the way they should, even on the college level.
Mm-hmm.
The kids have just, I don't know, their spirits have just been shaken by
Mm-hmm.
what has happened with COVID, and so it makes even more
It
complicated
does. It
to
does.
then want them to go do the extra mile when
Mm-hmm.
they're already doing a whole bunch of extra already. So that's the COVID piece. And
Mm-hmm.
and then the same thing with guidance counselors. Now, guidance counselors have definitely shifted.
Mm-hmm.
I talk about that during my sessions because I let parents tell me the experiences they're having with the guidance counselors and how they don't understand why they aren't providing the information I'm providing.
Mm-hmm.
So what I think my answer to that in those sessions is, bless you, is that oftentimes they're overwhelmed. They have too
Mm-hmm.
many students. They have too many
Mm-hmm.
other things they're dealing with. They have disciplinary issues. Like, it's so much now that wasn't an issue back during my
Exactly.
time.
You're right. You're right.
That is an issue now that has made it even harder for guidance counselors. That's not a pass for them. However, it would be wonderful if schools would contract with me, let me come in and do what I do. But now, speaking to the other piece about how you have to beg kids to apply, I just think there's a humongous difference, and there's obviously an age difference between myself and all of you as well. But even in my time, kids were willing to put in the work, that extra work to go get what we wanted.
Mm-hmm. That's
And
true.
I think, as I spoke earlier, this new generation, while they have a lot of great things to offer, they also have this microwave mentality
Mm-hmm.
or this sense of entitlement. And until we can get through this sense of entitlement piece and realize how hard we do still have to work and how we as a people have to be even better than someone who does not look like us, until they really truly understand that and know it's not fair. The word we hear all the time is, that's not fair. Life is not fair. What I went through as a teenage mom wasn't fair. But at the end of the day, I knew what I needed to do in order to be successful. And I wasn't going to allow anyone or anything to deter me from doing that. So I think until we can make kids truly understand the fight that the people before them had, and to make them understand that they hold the keys to the success in their own hands. And until they can really truly understand that and realize nobody owes them anything, I think that's going to constantly be a challenge. There needs to be a shift change, a mind shift. With all the violence that's going on right now with our young people, they don't even value their own life or the lives of their friends, family, or anything else. So until we can shift some things up, shake some things up, I just think this is where we are right now. It's unfortunate, but it's the true reality that we're all living with at this time.
That's true.
That's true. There's a couple points that you had, and I think one point that needs to be emphasized is the point that the parents need to get involved earlier on. And then so as they're coming through, and you mentioned the 6th grade, is that yes, they need to talk to the kids and explain to them and try to guide them and mentor them the way, through middle school and high school, and to take the hard courses now versus I'm now taking chemistry and physics or whatever for the first time in college, and it's too late then because you got a free look in high school. And then you also mentioned the piece on the guidance counselors, and we have to be a realist now that there is a amount of institutional racism for us as people of color within the system. And so you're not going to or we are not going to get the same level of help that somebody else that doesn't look like me will get when I go through the schools. And so I have to be, as a parent, be a backstop. And I see you smiling there. So the other piece is a lot of the kids, and as I get off this diatribe here, think that mom and daddy, grandma, grandpa are the backstops, that they are going to stroke this check or sign this loan papers and forever change their life to get me to pay my tuition to go to X, Y, and Z college or university. And within that, they have not even done the research. Is this place a good fit for me? Not looking at, and not looking at the graduation rates for a particular major. And even that is another discussion, is what is the payback for that particular major, because it is nice. I'm going pre-med or whatever because it sounded right, but I got out of high school with 2.2 and never took an advanced course, and I'm not prepared at that time. So can you, that was a lot that I just said there. And I got another one, but I'm
to say the least, Colonel, to say the least, to say the least.
What say you?
Okay, so you did say a lot. So I'm gonna go backwards, because the last thing I heard you say, that was that sense of entitlement piece, where they just think that we're gonna stroke a check, this is what they're supposed to do. We didn't ask to be here, so they brought me here, so they should just pay me to go. No, that's not exactly how this works. So that's that sense of entitlement piece. Then you mentioned about parents. Right, parents do have to get involved early, because you're supposed to be your child's first advocate. First of all, if you're not fighting for them, then the guidance counselor is not going to fight for them. They have to know that parents are engaged throughout the process, that they care about what's happening. You can't wait until 12th grade year and then go in and talk to the guidance counselor and find out that your kid doesn't have all the classes they need to even graduate, let alone go to college, let alone get a scholarship, let alone have the opportunity to get a full ride. So yes, parent involvement is very important. Making these kids understand that a sense of entitlement is not true. You have to work for what you want. And I think there was a point one that you made. I don't remember. What was that point? Did I cover it all? Did you mention something else?
It was a long piece of it, but now that you've opened this door, it's part of this roadmap. And now that you open the door, so is there this roadmap have you published a book or thinking about publishing a book with this roadmap?
So I feel
There's
like
a lot
I'm
of
sitting
products out there.
yes, I feel like I'm sitting on a few books. So, and my goal that I made for myself was to publish at least one of them by the end of 2022. So I don't know which one I'm going to go with first. I feel like I'm sitting on three. There are a lot of tools out there. And once again, to me, picking up a book and still trying to figure it out by reading a book, I feel like it's still better to have a one-on-one consultation with someone who knows how to maneuver. The book can be an extra resource, but I think the personal experience you get from working with someone, walking you through the process, to me, is better than picking up a book. Because
Yes.
even when you read a book, you may not totally understand every single avenue that you need to journey through in order to get a desired result. So while a book is a resource, I don't feel like it's the one stop all. So I don't know that that would be my first book. I feel like what I'm doing now is a lot more beneficial. I like the one-on-one. People, I get to understand where they're coming from. And sometimes I actually have to sit in sessions. I've heard, the kids cry. I've heard the parents cry because there's a level of frustration there sometimes. And, sometimes in some of my sessions, I'm saying some things that some parents have said, not the way that it's being said, but because I'm a mutual party, I'm able to make a little bit more leeway. And the parent will say, I've been telling her that. I've been telling him, but sometimes our kids have to hear it from someone else.
Exactly.
Exactly. It's unfortunate, but even as adults, sometimes we don't always listen to the people in our circle, but a stranger can come and say the same thing. And we'll be like, oh, the light bulb goes off. And so I feel like me coming in as an expert, willing to work with families. And like I said, you don't have to come to me once. You can come back. I have clients that have come back to me 2 or 3 times throughout the process because the parents just don't want to deal with it or don't have the patience to continue to ride, not whip physically, but whip them through the process. Because I tell people all the time, yeah, Malik is a good kid, but he didn't come to me and say, Mom, I'm going to apply for 6 scholarships today. No, he did not. I said, if you want to go hang out with your friends this weekend, you will get these 5 applications done.
Yes.
So friends are calling. Miss Kisha, Aunt Kisha, Ma, all his friends call me all kind of stuff. We was trying to come pick up Leak to go to the game. He said what? He said that you said that's exactly what I said. So if he's coming with you, you better tell him to get them applications done. And so it takes that level of being involved, being engaged. Because no matter how motivated your kids are, I don't know too many kids who are just going to go say, I'm just going to go do this all by myself. And I tell parents all the time, it has to be a partnership. This is not a process, a project that a kid can totally accomplish on their own. Now, I know some kids are forced to do things on their own because of various situations and circumstances, but I'm talking about a child who's being raised with at least one parent in the household. You have to work with them. My husband and I worked as a team to help Malik do all of it. Maybe while he was at basketball practice for however many hours or a game or whatever, my husband may have been looking things up. I was looking things up. We were building our spreadsheet, and then all Malik had to do was go and apply. So it has to be a team effort in order to, once again, get the desired result. But we all have to understand what we're trying to accomplish in order to be able to accomplish it. So
yes. It's a good point because one, you talked about, hey, you had to do 6 applications, and it has to get down to that point of saying, okay, every 2 weeks I got to submit so many applications.
Right.
And it's not hard. It's just getting to do that, and we got to make this transition.
Yes, we do.
Yes.
Let me step in to thank you, Colonel. We are leaving the radio in about 3 minutes, and we want to thank all the listeners on WGPL 1350 AM for joining us on CBC, Christian Broadcasting Company. And join us next week as we have another exciting topic to share with you. And we'll be transitioning now, like the Colonel said, over to Facebook only. And Colonel, if you want to finish up with what you were saying, and then I have a question. Okay.
Yes. And so one of the things too, as a parent and a grandparent, and talking about the selection of a major, and I think the parents need to also have the talk. And also, I'm a strong believer of exposure. And then so when you come to me and you ask me, oh, I want to go to such and such college or university, and I want to be XYZ. And then so I need to get that. And I always, to my own family, and trying to get reach out to somebody in that does that job postgraduate. And I think that's a big piece. And then to have that understanding, because some kids say, I want to be such and such for the glamour of it, but
money.
the money, and have never had to put in the work to get there. And if I always said, if it is hard, then it is good. If you want to get an I love me degree, then you will have a great experience at school, but you will have nothing but debt and unemployment on the other end after graduation if you finish. So that's my commentary on the academic side there. So what say you on that?
Can I speak? Because I know we were talking about transitioning. Am I okay to go ahead and address? Okay.
Yes.
All right. So on that, that's why exposure is important. And that's why I have said, once again, we can start as early as 6th grade. There's nothing wrong with starting to take them on campus tours once you guys have established that is a child who wants to go the traditional route. You can start doing your campus tours early. There are assessments out there that'll let you and your child know where they would kind of fit, what type of career field they may want to get into. And then you can start looking at their hobbies and their habits. It's very easy to figure out. For example, Malik used to watch Shark Tank, maybe like in 8th grade, 9th grade, when at some point he found Shark Tank. We started watching it as a family. So we already knew he was going to be in business. I mean, we already knew, in addition to everything else he had going on, that was another avenue that he could travel. So that's what I'm saying. When you spend time with your kids, really spend time with your kids, you're not allowing just the TV to raise them or just for them to run around and be free and do whatever they want. And you're actually having these tough conversations and you're showing an interest in them. You can find out a lot about what they want to do, and you can start trying to figure that out and maneuver, because once again, they can't just chase the money. When I always tell the kids, if you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life. And the money will come because you're going to be good at it. You're going to be passionate about it. And so I tell them, don't chase the dollar. Don't chase what's popular. Go after what you really love to do. And then that way you can ensure that you're checking the blocks. Whoever you're servicing is getting what they need. It's a win-win for everyone when you go about it that particular way.
Kisha, there's a question on Facebook. They want to know if you have a website or an email, or how can individuals contact you?
Yes, so I do have a website. If you can't remember the website, you can honestly just go and Google and put in roadmap to a full ride. I am the first one that pops up. However, my website is roadmap2fullride.com. roadmap2fullride.com. There are testimonials on my website. There's more information about all the services I provide. I do have a phone number as well, 757-797-6049. That's 757-797-6049. And I also have an email, info@roadmap2fullride.com. info@roadmap2fullride.com. Once again, if you can't remember any of that, just go to Google and put in roadmap to a full ride, and it pops up right there.
Okay, Kisha, I think it's important to mention too, I think a lot of parents, grandparents, and family members have started college funds for their children or grandchildren at age 3 or something like that. And by the time they mature, it's still important for them to have that consultation with you, because cost of living and the price of college, costs of college and university have gone up, and they still might need information from you to add to whatever they have accumulated through their college funds. But I wanted to bring up HBCUs, and it's always been a popular thing to go to HBCUs from legacies or the availability of them for certain people. And you're seeing a kind of a resurgence of people of interest in HBCUs athletically and academically. And even Malik, with all the scholarship money he got and the different places he visited, he chose the HBCU, A&T. So now talk about maybe the importance of people not overlooking these HBCUs as they plan for their colleges, because some people have the misconception that they might get a better education, and it's nothing wrong. You go where that scholarship leads you. But sometimes people don't even look at the HBCUs because they have the misconception of going to a PWI might be more advantageous to them, which is not necessarily true.
Okay, so this is going to be a long answer. So if y'all need to cut me off, just be like, okay. So
okay.
yes.
Can't be any longer than the Colonel's question.
So you got Miss Smith over there coughing and laughing and everything at the same time.
That's my Colonel. That's all I can say.
All right. So yes, unless you have over $120,000 saved somewhere for your child or grandchild, you're going to still need some additional expertise and information because the average cost to go to any college or university, just the average, on average, of course, it can be a little less, it can be a little more expensive. There are a whole bunch of things that play into that equation, but on average, you're probably looking at about 30,000. So 30,000 times 4 years is 120,000. So if you don't have 120,000 saved up to pay, yeah, you're going to need some additional assistance. And still, I would even say my consultation doesn't cost anywhere near that. So getting the additional information to help you is extremely important. You just make sure you have all the tools in your toolbox. You know, we're constantly supposed to be adding tools to our toolbox so that we have everything we need collectively to make an informed decision. Applied knowledge is power. That's my saying. I can say applied knowledge is power. PWI versus HBCU. My husband and I graduated from Norfolk State University and HBCU. Even with our kid living in our home, who was going to a predominantly white high school, Grassville High School in Chesapeake, HBCUs aren't discussed in every school setting. Let me just say that, okay? Even if it's a, predominantly black school or predominantly white school. I mean, HBCUs are not always discussed, and HBCUs have not always gotten the best reviews, raps. A lot of times we focus on the negative piece. One negative thing happens and the whole entire situation is now negative. I mean, no situation is perfect, okay? You're going to have issues whether you're at a PWI or HBCU. There is going to be some issue, okay? Nothing is going to be perfect. However, in recent years, there has been a stronger push for people to look like us to go to HBCUs. More money, especially since COVID, has been poured into a lot of our HBCUs. North Carolina A&T definitely is one of them that has received a lot of money. There's a lot of money at North Carolina A&T. And so when I have kids that come to me who are excited about HBCUs or even have A&T on their list, even though I'm a graduate of Norfolk State University, I am excited because HBCUs are really doing great things. Just to speak to North Carolina A&T, they're number one HBCU in the country right now. They have a phenomenal engineering program. They have a phenomenal business program, which is where Malik got his full ride from the College of Business. They're just doing a lot of things right. Are they perfect? No. However, when it comes to a PWI versus a HBCU, sometimes they may have a little more money. Back in the day, PWIs tend to have had more money. Sometimes they have quotas to reach where they need to get a certain number of different nationalities on their campus. And so our kids were programmed to think that PWI was better. Malik's number one choice was not North Carolina A&T. It was a choice. It was on his list. It was in his top 5, but it wasn't his number one. But we as a family had told him, you can make the decision to go wherever you want. Just know that if you get a full ride, we're not going to stroke a check for you to go somewhere else because, one, we don't have $120,000. And two, I don't think that makes sense. So while he had a choice, did he have a choice? We weren't signing for any loans.
Mhm.
He had money from all of his top five. I believe his top five were Georgia Tech. He got accepted, got their scholarship that they were offering. High Point University. He got what they were offering. University of Miami, I believe it was. Then it was North Carolina A&T, and I can't even remember what the last one was. But at any rate, when the offers came in, he had a total of 1.2 million from all the schools he had applied to. And he said to us, Ma, I really didn't think I was going to go to a HBCU. And I said, well, honey, do further research. He had done a whole bunch of research on the other schools. He hadn't done a whole bunch of research on A&T. And this is in my household where me and his dad graduated from an HBCU. And we knew the importance of being at one. But, you do give your kids a little bit of room to make their choices within reason. And so when he made his final list and A&T was there, after his interviews, and they wanted him, when I tell you they wanted him, they moved heaven and earth to get him there. We don't pay basically anything for Malik to go to A&T. $125 a semester just to hold his housing. And that's it. He's in a 3-bedroom, 3-bath apartment with his washer and dryer, full kitchen, dining room, family room, like the whole nine. There was nothing else that made sense. But this is the power of HBCUs. They will do things to get you there if they want you. And so what are they looking for? They're looking for kids full ride material, over 3.5, at least a 1250 on the SAT. Those are going to be your requirements for your HBCUs that are typically going to put you in that competitive range to be competitive for a full ride at HBCU. At a PWI, the requirements are going to be higher. And then to get the scholarship and maintain the scholarship at a PWI, the requirements are probably going to be a little bit higher. And the reason why is because HBCUs want us to be successful. They want more of us to have the opportunity to go to college. They do understand we come from different backgrounds. Everybody is not in a 2-parent or even a 1-parent household. So HBCUs are trying to give you an opportunity to get there and be successful and provide other opportunities. That's probably the long answer to your question. Did I cover everything? Were you looking for something else? Because I do have more to say, but I don't want to keep talking.
No, you did. You did cover it, and you made some good points there, because I want people to realize too, because how colleges really go after academically gifted students as well as the athletes. You see the athletes because they have press conferences for them choosing certain schools, but you don't see press conferences for somebody choosing a school because he's been accepted for aerodynamics or the School of Business or something like that. So colleges really go after, white and black, go after the academic students. So, I want students to keep that in mind as well. They just think colleges really make that extra effort for basketball, football, and other sports athletes, and that's not necessarily true. But you did answer the questions about the HBCUs. I just want to let people know that it's important. Have them on your list at least, and do your homework on them, and explaining what Malik did. He didn't even have him on his. Well, he had him on his list, but he didn't investigate it because it wasn't in his thought process of even going there and probably you couldn't pry him away from there now. He's going to be an Aggie till he dies now.
It's something about that Aggie land, James. It's something about it. There's something like it. I'm telling you.
He has a granddaughter there, and he's going to be that way now because of his experience there that he probably didn't know about until he did his research, and plus they were the ones that gave him the full ride.
So yes, I do need to speak to that just very briefly. So a week after he got on campus, he called us, and I'm thinking, what is this call about? He called us. He was like, Mom, Dad, and we were like, yeah. He was like, this was one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life. He didn't even realize what he was about to experience. We knew. Well, not on that level, because like I said, that Aggie pride is something different. I don't think
a completely different level.
I have never seen anything like it. And I love my Behold the Green and Gold. But when I tell you, there is nothing like that Aggie land, that Aggie pride. It is something serious. Like, they're on a whole nother level. But to hear him call us a week later He's 4 hours away, 17 years old in college. I'm thinking, oh my God, but when he called us and he said, Mom, Dad, this was one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life. All I could do was almost cry because I wanted him to end up at HBC, but I wasn't going to force it upon him.
Mhm.
I had to let him have some choices and decisions he needed to make and help him and let him maneuver through that process. But when I tell you, he is Aggie pride until he died. He loves his Aggie pride. He's even done an interview talking about the importance of HBCUs that I actually loaded on YouTube. So I honestly share that with kids when they come into my sessions when parents say, I'm trying to make them understand that they need to add an HBCU to their list. And I say, look, I get it. My kid went to a predominantly white high school. HBCUs were not talked about. And even though he was living in the house with us, he felt like he needed to be at a PWI to be successful. Malik has worked with CP3 from the NBA. He just came back from New York in October, 5 days, all expense paid trip for advertising week, where he hung out with the CEOs and executives of Triller and TikTok. And he hung out with Nick Cannon, VIP at the show. He went to see Mary J perform at Apollo. The experience that comes when you get there and do what you're supposed to do. Let me say that.
Exactly.
Because you still have to be involved. The opportunities, even in college, are not going to just fall in your lap. You have to let people know who you are. So right out the gate, Malik went there and he was like, this is who I am. This is what I do. He ended up being Mr. Freshman year. And that started 2 weeks after they hit campus, campaigning, and I'm just back here in awe. Like, okay, Lee, do your thing, and then him and Miss Stiff's grandbaby, they bumping and high five. And I actually talked to her on the phone the other day. She claimed she was going to be watching me. I said, girl, get out of here. You are not going to be.
She's not going to get up this early. It's
right. So I told her, I said, girl, bye. I remember college days. You are not up at no 6:30. But just that experience of being able to be familiar. Me and Maisha, went to high school together. So for our babies to be in college together, we sit up and laugh all the time about how things come full circle. So yeah, I am a proud Aggie mom. I am.
And I am a proud Aggie grandma, and I wear my Aggie colors with pride.
I do too. I even have a shirt that has Behold the Green and Gold part on the front and Aggie Pride on the back.
Yeah, I saw that shirt, and I must say, here in Portsmouth Coffee Talk, we're not slighting PWIs at all. Get the opportunity to go there, and the opportunities are there as well. We just want to make sure that people are aware, at least give the HBCU a chance, a look, and if there's any hype out there, don't believe all the hype. I mean, just like any university have problems, ours just seem to be more publicized. And you can't tell me some of the PWIs don't have mold and have issues like some of the HBCUs, but it's just about controlling the narrative that they might have better control over what gets out. But anyway, if your child gets that full ride to any university, it's important for that secondary level of education to be a part of what they want to do to achieve success.
That's a good point, Slim, but I'll interject here, and I'll also say that my last job, I was a chief nurse executive for Cadet Command, or ROTC, Army ROTC, and I had 253 universities and colleges across the country and recruiting for healthcare, and had a $30 million to $35 million budget that we were giving out to kids to go to school. Just in healthcare. And I would tell you that as the kids were, I always said that the kids from HBCUs were more prepared than anecdotally from kids that went to PWIs. And also we saw a difference in statistically for those kids that you mentioned that came from public schools versus private schools in the high school areas. And once in the public schools were more prepared when they went to colleges because they were used to a different environment and other people when they went away from that closed system of being in a private school or homeschool was even on a third rail. The homeschool kids really didn't do well statistically when they went to college also. So that's just another piece that I had to add in there. And the last thing I wanted to say is HBCU schools, yes, they want you. And they want to make, and they will make sure that you get what you need.
Exactly. Prepare you for
As long
life.
as you do what you're supposed to do, they will get you what you need
Prepare you
and
for life.
prepare you for society
Exactly.
long after that. And you can't get that anywhere else other than the HBCU school. So I've got to say that. But one thing I want you to address is in-state versus out-of-state tuition and costs. And so I know we haven't discussed that. So we discussed around the edges about cost, but there is a difference.
There is a difference. So in-state tuition is always going to be less. If you're going to go, well, okay, let me say something else. When you start comparing some out-of-state schools, okay, to in-state, for example, we're in Virginia. So Virginia Tech, JMU, those are some of your more expensive Virginia schools. So when you start looking at the difference, Malik is at A&T, which is out of state, of course. But when you started comparing the tuition difference between a Virginia Tech, a JMU, and a North Carolina A&T, there's not that much of a difference. So it just depends on the school. Like I said, there's a lot of things that go into the equation. So you have to understand what the entire pieces of the puzzle so that you can put them together. However, in-state is usually always going to be less expensive than out of state, okay? However, if you are a cream of the crop candidate, okay, for a scholarship, schools get very creative if they want you. They can switch you if they want to, okay? If they want to, and they present it to you. If they want you bad enough, they can switch you from an out-of-state student to an in-state student just to get that scholarship.
Exactly.
Okay? So that's what I'm saying. When you present yourself where you're undeniable, they will do what they have to do to get you there if that's what they want. Okay. But yes, there definitely is a difference between in-state, out-of-state, but I'll push it even further. There's also a difference between public and private.
Exactly.
Okay. And everybody don't understand that. One, public schools are going to be, their guidelines are by state, their funding and all things of that nature. So they can't raise the tuition but by so much from semester to semester or year to year. And there's so many other regulations that are regulated. Whereas when you go to a private college, they can do whatever they want. They can raise the tuition whatever they want. They can charge you outrageous amount for books. They can do whatever they want because they're not bound by state guidelines. So not only do you need to understand the difference between in-state and out-of-state, you also need to understand the difference between public and private. Okay.
Yes. And could you address is a possibility of changing residency, state residency, after I get into, say, if I go to A&T later on, looking at that, so I can get that in-state tuition?
Right. So a lot of kids are not independent of their parents when they go to college. They're pretty much that FAFSA information is going to have their parents' information there unless they become independent of the parent. So if a parent moves, to wherever, they can eventually get whatever that is. Now, there is another way for a child to get after being there for a certain amount of time, but each school is different. So once again, you have to do your research to understand what is required. What is required, because what happens at one school may not be the case for another school. Every school acts independently with certain requirements. So in order to now become a resident of that state, do your research, find out what's required. And is it worth making that change if you can? Absolutely. It's going to be a very big cost difference. So that is something that's on the table and available to be gone after once you do start attending a college or university. Yes.
And also, while you're mentioning that, changing residency, if I'm a military child dependent, then a lot of universities will give me that in-state tuition if they're on active duty and the child goes out of state. I'll get that in-state tuition. Is this true?
That is true. Because right now we know someone where They're from Florida. I think that's their home of residency, but they've been in Virginia now forever.
Mhm.
So the child can go to Florida, schools in Florida, or to schools in Virginia and get in-state tuition at either one. Yes.
Let me make this statement too. If anybody out there thinks that Kisha is giving away too much free information, everybody that she has as a person, and all of us have a uniquely different, and everybody's situation is different. So you're still going to need to talk to her about your situation. What she's giving away now is general information that might not definitely necessarily apply to you. So general information. And you know, that's, I had to say that. People say, well, why is she giving away information and she has that business? Because everybody's going to be different in the situation. So just want to make that statement. So if you think you're getting enough information and you don't need any further information from her, think twice about that, because your situation is unique to whatever you're trying to do. Okay.
That's a fact. I'm not giving away everything. Trust me. This is very general.
Yeah. But saying that is, yes, this is general information that we talked about, but then we've skirted around the edges. And what I'm hearing is Kisha will give you the concierge piece to get your kids, and your payback will be more than whatever her fee is. And
absolutely,
that can be negotiated right after, you know, whenever you talk to her, that payback, because if you don't have to pay for that, sign for that loan, that is a positive to your checkbook. And that is the biggest thing that hold back kids after they graduate, because you can read the statistics and say, if I have this big, you know, if I come out of school and I've got $100,000 worth of school loans, then I'm forever stuck in that quagmire of debt, which affects me from buying cars, houses, or whatever. And if mom and daddy sign for it, or grandma signs for it, mom and daddy can't retire because they got to pay for those school loans. And grandma is, if they sign for it, grandma is subsidizing it while she's eating cat food because she can't afford nothing else, paying on your school loan. So you want to take care of yourself and look and be an informed consumer as a aspiring adult going to college and looking at your major and stuff like that. So it's a good time to reach out to Kisha so she can give you the concierge treatment.
Kisha.
Absolutely. Yeah.
There's a question on Facebook as well asking, do you offer any services to those over 55 who may want to go back to school?
Yes, I do. Of course, my focus is on the younger ones, you know, trying to get them started early. However, I have people to come to me who want to go back to school for their doctoral degree or whatever. So yes, I don't discriminate in my services.
Okay. That answered her question for her. That's good.
Well, I'll also say that those who, I don't like to use the old word, but
seasoned yes. Individual
or more mature.
Thank you.
Education never stops.
Correct.
And so, you know, we're at this point in our lives that others may want to look for that second career or third career, and education opens other doors. And so you got to have it. You got to have more than, you know, you got to have twice as much to sit at the table nowadays. Is another.
Have you ever noticed how much better older sounds than old? Older covers a wider spectrum. It could be somebody 4 years old is older than a 3-year-old. So older always sounds better than old.
Yeah.
Keep that in mind when you're doing it. And I want to say too, you know, a lot of these universities that go after students, you know, it helps them, especially it helps the graduation rate if they get the students that they know they're going to come there and achieve. And it helps, because graduation rates and students that give back to the university helps those universities' endowments grow. And that's important. And when those students are successful and they go out and become a success, their name attached to that university is also important to that university. So, go there and do your best and come out. And Malik is already doing things. I used to wonder how he did all the things he did when he was in high school, from basketball. I mean, not every student can do that, from basketball, every once in a while, doing movies. He's done movies. And now he's doing voiceovers, because I remember the first interview, he wasn't too concerned about acting while he was in school. He mentioned he wouldn't be concentrating on that,
right?
Because he wanted to concentrate on his studies. But, the man sometimes, oversteps, because now he has a recording career,
yes,
as a rapper, doing a little
clean
singing.
Music artist. Clean
Yes.
music artist.
But I like you, Kisha, to also give a shout out to your oldest son.
Yes.
So Markel is the one that I had in high school, and Markel is doing very well. He's married with 5 children. Yes, 5. He passed his mom. But he is definitely doing his thing. He is an entrepreneur, a very successful entrepreneur. He makes a lot of money. He's in real estate. He's in investing. So he's definitely doing his thing. He started out in the military, got out early, and then he went to do what? Both of my boys following my footsteps. I always say, y'all little mini me's. They're like, yeah, okay, whatever, Mom. But honestly, he went back and got his business degree. And so now he's definitely working, moving and shaking. He's in the Northern Virginia, DC area with his family. Like I said, doing very, very well.
That's good.
And so he's 30 now. I have a 30-year-old.
He took that other route that the colonel talks about so often, going in the military and then going back to school so you'd be debt free afterwards, because the military pays for that education. So it's a lot of different ways for you to get your education and to come out on the end without life, debt that can sort of keep you from achieving the goals you want to early in your career.
So if I could just speak. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I just want to speak just a little bit on that part right there. Student loan debt is the #1 debt in America. Trillions of dollars, trillions of dollars. And so I tried to explain it to, a lot of times when clients come to me, the parent has student loan debt. Now they're trying to avoid their children from having student loan debt. So it's a generational thing. It keeps going. And then they have children, they have student loan debt. So hiring someone like me can definitely break that curse. I mean, I don't want to say you have to do what you have to do. Let's just say that. But when you've done everything you could ahead of time to ensure you're not in student loan debt, then that's the best route to go. However, just to understand how that debt works, somebody spoke to it, but they breezed over it a little earlier. It affects your debt, your debt to income ratio is affected. How much can you afford to buy? What kind of apartment you can live in? What kind of house you can get? What kind of car you can get? Where you can afford to even shop for groceries. We all know that groceries are extremely expensive right now, but all of that comes into play. So just imagine having $120,000 worth of debt before you even accept your first job. And most of the time, most jobs that you're walking into directly out of college are not going to pay you $120,000 most of the time. But I also want to speak to the fact that even though my program is to prepare students for college, I also want parents to understand that if your child chooses to go another route, into a trade, or something different, they want to become a barber or a cosmetologist, or they want to become a truck driver, and you always thought they were going to be an engineer. It's not your life. We have to let our kids walk in their gift, do what they're passionate about, because they will be successful if they're doing what they love and care about.
Exactly.
So the 4-year traditional route is not going to be for every single person, and I'm just being honest. Once again, maybe too honest at times, because Some people may not call me if they know their kid want to be a truck driver, but I have to say it because, I've even sat in sessions before where people have hired me for a consultation, and we find out during that consultation, Ma, I don't plan to go to a 4-year, and so we start talking about something else and other options there, and I help them with those particular situations. But we have to understand that one size does not fit all. Everyone is not going to go the 4-year route. So we have to stop pushing what our goals and dreams are for our kids. Now, do we carry some level of responsibility in ensuring that they're informed, and they're exposed? Yes. But when it comes down to it, it's not your life. You lived your life. You have to allow them to live theirs. So.
Great point. And last thing, I just need to give them, you mentioned your son, your oldest son, going into the military. I'm a big proponent of not turning your nose up against the military, because they have so many programs that aren't advertised, for you to get your education and everything, because it is it's a fact that's not really known that the United States military, especially on the officer corps, is the highest educated population in this country today. Everybody comes in as an officer, you're equal, you have a 4-year degree, and you're expected to get a list of masters, or if you want to go pursue a PhD, they will fund it. I have friends that have gone to MIT and Harvard, and there's there's 2 of the most expensive programs in the country, all paid for by Uncle Sugar. Myself, after 36 years, the government paid, well, you as a taxpayer contributed to my 4 degrees. And I'd like to thank all 3 of my folks on the screen here for giving me some money to go back and get all 4 of my degrees subsidized. And so y'all keep paying taxes and stuff. So thank you in the head for that. But look at the military, and even if you only come in for a little bit, 4 years, to get that for the experience and to get the benefits for what you're going to do for later, it's something that it will hold you forever. That's my commentary.
That's a good point. And I want to also say, all degrees or all career fields does not require a master's. Sometimes you can do the 4 years and be done. However, if you get into a career or job that'll pay, the government paid for me to get my master's degree. So once again, I went undergrad free and turned around and got my master's degree free. So, I mean, there are options like that. So when you start looking for, jobs and careers that you may want to go into, your research and find out if after you've worked at that company for a certain amount of time, will they pay for you to go get a master's? So instead of you now trying to pick up loans and now go get another year of school to get your master's, or 2 years, depending upon the program, you might can go ahead and start working and allow your job to pay for it. So that's another way.
Kisha, as we wind down, we want to thank you for very informative general information, and I'd like to give a shout out to your husband, Eric Hawkins, who is a partner in the success of your children and whatever you do, and shout out to him. And Leah, I don't know if you want to make a closing statement as we.
I just want to thank Miss Kisha. I've been able to spend more time with her over the past 3 years, but since COVID, a little less than before. Right. We spent a lot of time together over there in Aggie land. But I want to thank her for coming on this morning and sharing all of that wonderful information. And once again, Kisha, I think you need to give out your website and your email and your phone number for those individuals who are probably in need of your services. I can think of many that I will send in your direction. But thank you once again for all that you do. Thank you for just being you. Thank you for being that Norcom graduate. Thank you for paying your alumni dues, Kisha. I had to throw that in, and we do need your input with the Norcom Association as well, okay? So Norcom is really our HBCU, okay? So, right. But we need to, but really, I want to thank you so very much, and very informative, and lot of listeners who have expressed great things as a result of the interview on this morning. So once again, thank you so very much. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. I appreciate Malik. I appreciate all that we have that we share. Okay.
Yes. We are truly family for real.
Yes, we are. We are indeed family.
So, yes, I will share that information. And I also want to say before I give the information out, you can do a one-on-one consultation. I do have group rates. And because we are in COVID, you know, we can set up Zoom. Or we can do just a straight telecom. Most of my consultations are done just via telecom. However, I do Google Meet or Zoom or whatever's necessary. And so if you wanted to bring a group together, that's something that we can discuss. The rates for that, doing something like that. I still show up in person where I'm needed. So we can also talk about that. I wear my mask. I require everyone in attendance to wear theirs. And so just depends on where it is now. and rates may change depending upon where I have to go. But definitely willing to get this information out here. My objective is to not only get your kids in college, but to get them in college and through college for free. So my information, where you can reach me, like I said, if you can't remember the actual website, you can just go right in Google and put in Roadmap to a Full Ride. I am the first one that pops up. However, my website is Roadmap to Full Ride. Roadmaptofullride.com is my website. On there, you will see testimonials. You can book request a consultation. You can see about all my services I provide, because you can sign up for just essay coaching or interview coaching. We didn't really touch on that today, but a lot of colleges and scholarships require you to go through an interview process. That is something that I also help with. Or you can get my core curriculum, which covers everything. My email, info@roadmaptofullride.com. Again, my email, info@roadmaptofullride.com. All this information is on my website. And my phone number, 757-797-6049. Again, 757-797-6049. You might be thinking, woo, she covered a lot of stuff today. I have so much more. This was just the general information. But in order to get a customized session for you and your child, the best way to do that would be to request a consultation. And that can be done via my website.
Thank you, Kisha.
Absolutely.
And another message to take away from this experience today: don't let early life experiences interfere with your goals and the opportunities that present itself to you.
Exactly.
To be successful later on in life. You know, that's
yes,
very important.
Yes.
A lot of people get derailed by things, and usually it's from that people around you, the outside circle, that tries to judge what's going on with you. And just block it out and keep moving. Well, again, thanks a lot. We appreciate it. And thanks everybody for watching, and those that will be watching later on YouTube. Remember, you don't have to be from this area, Hampton Roads, in order to enlist the services of Kisha Hawkins. You know, just take the information she gave you. If you're in California, you're in a little town in Oklahoma, and you want to get the advice for your children to go to college tuition free, get in touch with Kisha. Thanks a lot. I appreciate it. And Portsmouth Coffee Talk is here for our boss.
Wait just a minute. It's here. It's here. Our community.
In our future.
Thank you.
Everybody
Thank you
for watching. We appreciate you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me. Y'all have a great one.
You do the same, sweetheart. Take care.
All right. You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.